And now you can see the Backseat Mogul Show in all its video glory on our YouTube page at roughedge.tv.
Come to Harbor Cove Cafe, where the palm trees sway, where you'll find my types and zombies you'll crave. Your hidden treasure at the end of Spinnaker. Tropical libations, feel the island vibrations. Taste the flavors that delight in our paradise of the night. Sip on sunshine in your cup, life's a breeze, so drink it up. Harbor Cove Cafe, where the aloha stays. Your perfect getaway at the end of the bay.
Showbiz is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs for no good reason. There's also a bad side.
This is the Backseat Mogul Show, live here on Rough Edge FM. I am R. Scott Bolton. I am the Backseat Mogul, and this is the show where we talk about show business. Johnny D, not here today. As you can see, he's apparently didn't get the message about the show, or didn't show up, because we are recording this in advance since I'm going to be gone this weekend. So he either didn't get the message or he's dissing us all. So sorry about that. Johnny D will come back to you if time permits. If he walks in the door, I get it all set up for him. Anyway, also apologize for the darkness here in the studio. We've got lights that are out because of an electrical problem, and I don't have my ring light anymore because it burned up. So I got to get a new one of those. Doesn't matter, because we're all here just to talk, so we'll get through this anyway. And if you're listening to the audio version, none of this really matters, does it? So today I thought we'd start by talking about a new Blu-ray release. This is in fact a movie from 1945 called The Story of G.I. Joe. Now, The Story of G.I. Joe takes place, well, it was released originally in 1945. This Blu-ray edition is a brand new transfer, a gorgeous print. It's not from our usual suspects. This is from a group called Ignite Films, Classics for the Future, and also they're in cahoots with the Film Foundation in putting this reconstruction together. It is a beautiful transfer. If you've seen G.I. Joe before, if you're a fan of G.I. Joe, this particular movie, not the dolls that came out, the action figures that came out later, this is the version you want in your collection. This is actually absolutely perfect. It was chosen as one of the 10 best films of 1945 by the New York Times, and was the recipient of 4 Academy Award nominations. So pretty big deal here. Now, the story takes place in World War II, which is interesting already because World War II ended about 1945, and here's a movie that was released in 1945. And it's the story, kind of true story, of Ernie Pyle, who was a columnist who was, I don't think he was embedded like they say these days, but he did follow along a group, a C company, I believe it was. Let me find exactly who they were. The Company C, 18th Infantry, to report back to the States, to the newspapers there, and to talk about the men who were fighting the war and the war itself. And that was what his job was. Now, in the movie, Ernie stays behind while the soldiers go and fight, because he's a journalist. He'd probably be more trouble on the front lines than he would be helpful. And that's one of the things I like about this movie. There are no scenes in this movie where Ernie comes running through suddenly with a hatchet or something and knocks away a German or an enemy of some kind. It's just him telling the story about getting to know the people. And that's what makes this movie so unique in a World War II movie that's almost 80 years old now, is because there's a little bit of the usual propaganda and xenophobia in the story of G.I. Joe, but it's just at the end of the war, so it's kind of understandable. But when you compare it to later World War II movies, later war movies, especially the John Wayne war movies, there's not the propaganda. There's not the gung ho go USA, curse the enemy, they're evil and should be wiped off the face of the earth. There's none of that propaganda. Instead, this film focuses on the characters of the people who are actually involved, the men who were really there. It's not the story of a single G.I. Joe. It's a story of all G.I. Joes. And that's what makes this so interesting. I'm sure that some of this was taken directly from Ernie Pyle's columns because he knew these men. He got down to the ground with them. He knew, he asked them questions. He came to learn about them. He figured out who they were. And that translates to this movie very, very well. And that's part of the thing. You come to know these characters. And when one of the characters is lost, and it happens several times in this movie, you feel it. You feel that loss because they've spent time developing the character, getting you to know them like Ernie Pyle got to know them. And then when they're lost or injured, you actually feel that loss as well, especially one particular loss, which I won't, even though the movie's 80 years old, I won't give you a spoiler alert on it here. Again, the movie unfolds nicely. It's told in a nice linear fashion that follows these soldiers in the war, with Ernie going back and making his reports, and Ernie coming back and seeing them again, meeting them again, see who's gone, see who's injured, see who's doing well. And that alone makes it interesting. But then you add this to the mix. Portraying Ernie Pyle in this movie is Burgess Meredith. Now, everybody knows Burgess Meredith from later years. He was Mickey on the Rocky series. He was also the Penguin, of course, in the Batman TV series. Burgess Meredith was one of those actors I always loved. If he was in a movie, I would go see it just because he was in it. He played Walter Matthau's father in those Old Men movies, and he was hysterical in those movies as well. So here, Burgess Meredith is 38 years old. I mean, that's a relative youngster compared to where we're used to seeing him in the Batman series and in the Rocky series. And he portrays Ernie Pyle perfectly. He's a journalist who genuinely cares about these soldiers and gets to know them, because not only is that his job, but he's got feelings for them. He wants to be their friends. He has to leave a little bit of it behind because he doesn't know who's coming back, but that's how he sits down and talks to them as friends, as compatriots, as comrades. And you feel that through Burgess Meredith's performance. Secondly, in this movie, we have Robert Mitchum, who plays one of the leads in this as well. Robert Mitchum was 26, I believe, when he made this movie. Now, we all know it became a Robert Mitchum. He became one of the legends of Hollywood. But apparently, this was the film that put him on the map. This was the film that gave him his first big leap into superstardom. So it's also interesting to see there. And by the way, his character is also terrific in this movie. You feel his pain at losing his friends and his soldiers. You feel his success, although with some kind of pain as well. When they win a particular battle, you feel his frustration when there's nothing they can do, when they're basically trapped and they just have to hunker down and hope for the best. I cannot recommend this movie enough. The story of G.I. Joe is absolutely terrific, especially in this edition from Ignite Films and from the Film Foundation. It comes with a ton of bonus features, which include a new, this is called Here He Lies Where He Longed to Be, Wild Bill's Dogface Blues, a new video essay by author and filmmaker Scout Tafoya. We also have a new interview by Bill Wellman Jr. That's one thing I forgot to mention. This film is directed by William Wellman, a very famous director from that era. This interview is obviously from his son. There's also a featurette called The Story of the Story of G.I. Joe. And it's a new featurette on the restoration of this film by restoration supervisor Greg Kimball. So you can see what they actually did to make this movie look as good as it does on the small screen. Or big, what are they nowadays? Because they're not small screens. They're big screens. I guess they're smaller screens. Your TV screen is sometimes as big as a movie theater screen. We also have audio commentary from Alan K. Rode. We have the original Nitrate trailer, which is interesting to see. We have a reconstruction of the original 1945 trailer, a photo gallery with original press book pages and stills. So all that is included on this disc, in addition to the best transfer of G.I. Joe that I can imagine is possible. So the story of G.I. Joe from 1945, pick it up if you can. And again, I will remind you how important physical media is, because it's fading fast, but that means you're losing control. You're giving the control to the streaming networks who can tell you when you can watch something, where you can watch something, and how much it's going to cost you. You keep one of these around, you can watch it whenever you want to, and it's always going to be in the exact same condition. And you can, the transfer, and you can control it. Otherwise, you're letting them do it, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So anyway, that's all I got for that one. Another movie I want to talk about real quick, and that'll be the end of the show today, because John's not here, and I don't have much. Again, it's my fault because I'm going away, so I kind of screwed things up. New on Apple TV, Apple Plus, is a movie called Instigators, The Instigators, and it stars Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. It's sitting at about 41% on Rotten Tomatoes as far as reviews go, which is not good. But I will tell you this. It is basically a heist film. This group of guys, some of whom want one last job, decide they're going to rob the mayor, because the mayor's about to be reelected. And when he does, he gets this treasure chest of cash from all the people who hope to benefit from his winning the election again. So their plan is to go and rob that cash. Every single thing that can go wrong in this heist goes wrong almost immediately, but they push all the way through. And here's the funny thing about this movie, The Instigators. It doesn't work as a heist film. It's actually a kind of rotten heist film. It's uneven, it's choppy, it's some of it's just so unbelievable you just roll your eyes. So it doesn't really work as a heist film, but it's got some great funny moments in it, most courtesy of the stars, Casey Affleck and Matt Damon. And they have a chemistry together, which you might imagine, because Casey is obviously Ben's brother, and Matt and Ben are partners. Ben actually co-produced this movie. Casey co-wrote this movie, so there's that as well. But they play off of each other in such a funny way, despite the fact that Matt Damon's character is one of those guys who never laughs, hardly ever smiles, and dares you to make him. So that camaraderie and some of the lines, especially Casey's smart aleck mouth, make this movie worth seeing. I laughed out loud many times during this movie. And even at the same time, I'm going, well, this heist movie isn't so great, but the camaraderie definitely make it worth watching. I think the critics rating was 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience rating was 70%. I'd say 70% is more fair than the 41% as far as The Instigator goes. Again, that's on Apple TV, and you cannot believe the cast. I have to tell you the cast of this movie, because it's very impressive. You've got Matt Damon, of course, Casey Affleck. You got Hong Chow from The Whale, Jack Harlow, Michael Stuhlbarg, who's great in this, Alfred Molina, the legend. You remember Alfred Molina from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the one who was running from the rock along with Indiana Jones, but he didn't quite make it. Who else have we got in this movie? You've got Ron Perlman. You've got Rob Gronkowski, the football player, is in this movie. Toby Johnson is in this movie, and there's more that I haven't even listed here. And the film is directed by Doug Liman, who has directed many big action features in his time. He directed Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, which was a great movie. He directed The Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal. He also directed the classic movie Swingers. So it's good to see this kind of movie on television, on Apple Plus television. Not sure it would have worked in theaters, so they did the smart thing by going here. But I would recommend it. Like I said, 70 out of 100 rather than a 41 out of 100, because it's just funny. Their camaraderie makes the movie worth watching. So I highly recommend you check it out. John, what do you think about that situation? Do you agree? Yeah, John's still not here. So we'll just skip that back. But anyway, as I said, short show today. I just wanted to tell you about those two films, especially the story of G.I. Joe. Trust me, if you enjoy war movies, if you're a fan of Robert Mitchum or Burgess Meredith, if you just like classic films and the best possible transfer you can get, that's your go-to. Pick it up. Don't let the studios and the streamers control what you watch. Watch what you want when you want to watch it. I cannot stress that enough, because physical media sales keep going down, and many films are getting deleted from streaming networks. So if you want to watch it and you don't have it, you're kind of out of luck. It's kind of a bad place to be right now. Let me show you some pictures from G.I. Joe. I forgot that I had downloaded these. Here we have Robert Mitchum in action, going the battle scene that's near the end of the film. We have a picture of Burgess Meredith and the real Ernie Pyle standing there talking among the set there. We also have a close-up of Burgess Meredith as Ernie Pyle. We have more action sequences with Burgess Meredith, Robert Mitchum, and another cast member. I wish I knew his name. I don't. I apologize. The funny thing is, I don't remember this in the film. I don't believe that Burgess Meredith was in any battle sequences. So this is probably a publicity still from the film rather than a clip from the movie. And finally, we have a close-up of that there as well. So with a little bit different action. I'm pretty sure those are both publicity stills from the film. Again, Story with G.I. Joe, highly recommended. The Instigators on Apple Plus TV. Yeah, I recommend it. It's not terrific. As I said, as a heist, it kind of doesn't work, but the cast is so great, and especially Casey Affleck and Matt Damon are terrific together. I would definitely give it a watch. But that's it for this week's show. We'll see you next week, folks. Thank you again for watching. Trying to think if I got anything else to tell you. I can't think of anything else. We'll see what happens. I guess we can talk about Deadpool still being the #1 movie, but The End of Us, $50 million, no slouch. That was a pretty big opening as well. So go to the theaters, check those out. Twisters is now available on demand if you want to watch that on your at home. That's all I got. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Backseat Mogul Show. Thanks for watching the Backseat Mogul Show. And we'll talk to you next week, folks. Have a good one. Brought to you by The Grape, Ventura County's premier jazz venue and cocktail lounge, located at 2733 East Main Street in Ventura. For menu and music schedule, visit them online at thegrape.club. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production. John's still not here.